A big thing we're going to be talking about today is something called the Infinite.
Yeah.
It's unlike anything I've ever experienced before. I thought that I'd seen it all when I've used Apple Vision Pro, but apparently not. This is a completely different way of interacting with virtual reality. I don't want to say artificial intelligence is not quite that, but just as a nerd, like computing at just this unbelievable scope. So how does an organization like the Midland Center for the Arts land something like the Infinite? And just real quick, what is the Infinite in your words?
So the Infinite is the largest immersive experience that happens in space. So it is 200 hours of footage that was shot on the ISS station by astronauts. And for the center to be able to bring on an exhibition of this size, truly this is the largest exhibition we've ever bring in scale, but also at the moment in popularity. We haven't had an exhibition of this size since dinosaurs. And this is an exhibition for ages 8 and up. So being able to attract a new audience for the center, in terms of how we were able to bring this exhibition to the center, it's a conversation of over, I think, 4 years. So they first scouted this back when we first came from the pandemic, being able to see it out in Toronto or Montreal when it first opened. And since then, it's just meeting with different agencies and groups to actually like try to figure out how this works in our space, because we're only the 7th city that's had the Infinite in the US, but every city has had to adapt it to a different space within their venue. And of course, with ours being under construction, it brought in a lot of unique challenges in bringing it in.
So essentially what you do is it's an immersive, even when you get into the line, you start feeling this idea that, oh, I'm doing something different. And it's very well themed, and you feel like you're really a part of it, and you're seeing the photos of the astronauts, and you have stories. And I was very fortunate to be able to go twice now. And once you actually get into the exhibit itself, you put this headset on, and that's what you live in throughout the entire time. And then essentially, is it a grid that you're walking on? Or
Yeah, so the floor has these different, if you take your goggles off, you'd be able to see just these rows of green dots. And that's actually what's tracking you through the virtual ISS station that you're going to be able to see in your headset.
And then as you walk through there's these, so you're in kind of like this world that, I mean, you're in space technically, but everyone else that you see, because you don't want to run into people, you still see them as glowing objects. People within your party have a color, and people outside of your party have a specific color. But then there's orbs, like these glowing circles, and you walk up, and when you touch into it, it puts you directly into a 4K video, and it's really, really immersive. You're seeing exactly that footage that was filmed by those astronauts.
Yes, and it's actually walking you through what they do in a day. So you get to watch the astronauts have their break bread together. You get to watch them go out and repair something outside of the ship. It's really cool, and there's over 200 videos of footage in that. So no two experiences are the same. Every time you come, those orbs are going to be in different positions and offer you different experiences to see.
And yeah, so I went one day, and I went the very next day, and it felt like I would know what was coming, and it was something totally different. So the computers that run that, like what type of scale are we talking about in terms of the technology that's in that space right now?
I mean, we have had to up our servers. That is a little bit above my head, but let me just say that is the actual the installation process for this was nothing like I've seen before at our venue. Just the amount of testing we had to do, the configurations that had to happen, was nothing like I've seen before.
So when the center brings a show into town, obviously the show travels, it comes here, it gets on the stage, and they practice, and then the show occurs. Are there full-time staff here from the Infinite, like on site at all times, or is it on y'all?
So we've actually had to hire a lot of staff to put this on. The Infinite has created over 40 jobs at the center.
It's amazing. So we've got all this economic development taking place. You have this intersection of community members coming together, and then you've got, an injection of a few more jobs.
Yeah.
And that's really, really cool. Now, something I think is awesome, and the first time that I heard about the center, it was in conjunction with it being talked about, or not the center, the Infinite. It was in conjunction being talked about with a lot of field trips that are coming in. And I think that's really cool to be able to offer that experience for kids locally. And obviously, the Hall of Ideas was always a place where kids would come and have those field trips. But now This is a totally different type of experience.
Yeah, so we've been really lucky to book over 5,000 students from the Great Lakes Bay region to come through and see the Infinite. We do field trips on Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays during the day. And just being able to see students in our building in this, of course, we've been doing matinees since the pandemic, since coming back from the pandemic, but we haven't had this activity in our museum. And just being able to see their faces coming out of the experience, there's nothing like it.
That's absolutely incredible. I couldn't imagine being, 8 years old, 9 years old, 10 years old, 11 years old, and walking out of that and just the smiles on their faces, like the reactions have to be unbelievable. And even the adults coming out, I've seen people cry.
Oh, yeah, for sure, for sure. The stories you hear from people, we had an old couple who talked about how it felt like they were dancing in space. So you really just get, every generation has something that is touching to them about this experience.
Absolutely incredible. And people have a lot more time to go see it. So how long is it going to be there until?
So at the moment, we are on sale for April 6th.
Amazing. So now this is a little bit of a challenge. Now, when we're looking at art in this way, I feel like this is totally different than something you feel like you probably would have been working in or type of exhibit that you would have had at the center. How is this challenging art to be different?
I mean, a lot of people, when they think about arts and sciences, they think of them as a separate entity. But at the center, we always like to use the STEAM acronym just because it puts art within sciences, because all of these things coexist.
Amazing. Amazing. So you can be in Midland, Michigan, but feel like you are in space. Subscribe wherever you consume media. Max Loves Midland is your entertainment, resources, and collective improvement hub for Midland County. Plan your next adventure in Midland at maxlovesmidland.com.